It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Wow, now this is news.
Yeah?
This is really big news.
All right.
Actor Rob Schneider on Monday said he's launching a show to compete with The View. We're going to do an all-ladies talk show that won't be like The View, he told Trace Gallagher from Fox News. He said the show, in comparison to ABC's The View, will be the opposite because it will be entertaining and will feature actually funny women.
Yeah.
They're going to tell jokes and have funny stories and health and wellness. I have a name for the show.
What?
You Can Do It.
You can do it.
Yes.
All right. I guess he's putting this will be streaming somewhere? Or
I have no idea. It says, says it's going to be a funny show, not going to be drowning people in politics.
All right.
It's not going to be shaming people and making people wince like most of his characters. No, I actually like Rob Schneider. You can do it.
You can do it. Yeah. Okay. First of all, here's what I'd say.
Yeah, he doesn't say where he's going to put it.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe he's just kind of throwing the idea out there saying, you know what I'm going to do? But if someone were asking me, I would tell them, well, I didn't know there was a demand for The View, much less the opposite of The View. I still don't get how they're getting anyone to watch it. And I think that's his point.
Well, law classes are.
Yeah. They have an entire building of lawyers that are forced to watch it. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully, then, yeah. My question is, who's going to be on it?
Yeah, that's really key. Yeah, who the women are going to be?
Who's going to be on it? Right.
And isn't what is it? Outnumbered? Isn't that supposed to be Fox's answer to The View in a way?
I think so, because they always bring in one male, which is the whole point of Outnumbered. You got what is it, 4 people?
Why does Fox seem insistent on having women gang up on men? We poor men.
I think that's unfair. I have a few legal notes for them.
It's not fair. I mean, isn't that bullying?
It's certainly intimidating. It's unfair.
I couldn't do that. It's like, could you please all cover your legs? I can't focus.
Yeah, exactly. Outnumbered.
I need to focus.
Yeah.
Cover up your legs or wear a business pantsuit.
I haven't watched a lot of Outnumbered, but
neither have I.
Aren't they? They don't sit as close as The View, do they? They don't sit. The View, it looks like they're hovering around a table.
Yeah.
Like they're all
you're right. They are further apart on
yeah. Right.
Outnumbered. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I've seen that, but
right.
I just don't watch much television in the morning. I mean,
no,
and
I don't watch any midday TV.
Yeah, the last thing I would do. The only time I see, when I see it when I'm in the auto dealership.
So I
That's
walked
the only
in.
time I ever see
the day Kamala was on. I pulled into the oil change place. They pulled my truck in the bay. I walk in, and that's what the TV is on, right, at the oil change place. because they probably had it on our local. It's of course our local station, but WFAA, ABC TV affiliate here, for their morning news and weather and all that, right? And then it's The View. I'm guessing that's why it was on that station. I don't think all the guys there at the oil change place were looking to watch The View, or any of the customers. It was actually just me, and then another guy came in. But I walked in just as it's coming on. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to watch this. I mean, because I had to sit there for 20 minutes. It wasn't turned up, and I didn't care at all. I was actually thankful. It was like, no, I'll get the rest of it later. I don't really. I don't know the attraction. I don't. Is it the Kardashians' attraction of, okay, we're going to totally watch this train wreck every day? It has to be for some.
I remember watching. I've watched the old Kardashian show once, and they were all sitting around having dinner, and a couple of the boyfriends were there, and it was the most irritating conversation ever.
Yeah,
and it was like, I'm out, and so I mean, I really had. I don't know why I was even watching it. How I got to that point? Maybe I was inquisitive. The funny thing is, you ever see the Bill Burr when he goes after the WNBA?
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Oh, one of the funniest.
Yeah.
And this is before the whole Caitlin Clark stuff.
Right.
When he went after the WNBA, and he's, well, why aren't they making the same as men? Why aren't they making the same as men? Have you checked out the number of people at the games?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then he goes, then they want to blame me. Why aren't you going? Why aren't you going? He goes, I've got my sports. Why aren't women going to the games?
Right.
Why aren't you supporting it? And then he says something like, I got to put food on the table. I got to go after the burglar breaking into the house. And now you want me to watch the WNBA?
Yeah, right.
Come on. When are you going to do your share?
Right, exactly.
Oh, my God, it's so,
yeah.
Oh, my gosh, it was so funny when he
It's a great bit, but it's kind of the same approach of, remember all the vegans that were protesting McDonald's because McDonald's food wasn't healthy?
Yes.
All the people that didn't and wouldn't ever eat there. It's like, you can just keep driving, right? You can go to the place where you want to go.
Yeah, you don't eat there.
You don't eat there.
But, we talked about this earlier, that remember those topics?
Yeah. Oh,
This
yeah.
talk radio host? When
Right.
It was like, remember the lawsuits?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to close down McDonald's?
Yep.
And remember the political correct Christmas stuff? All that stuff's gone. I mean, now it's like, oh, government is making it harder for me to eat. We got new problems.
Exactly. I can't afford Christmas. I'm not putting the word Christmas on anything because I can't afford it.
I will say this, though. I think the whole drone story, it's like people are like, give me something else. Drones. Mystery. Yes.
No, I think it is. During Nate Bargatze in one of his stand-up specials, talks about Greatest Average American is the name of it. And he talks about the whole COVID thing. He says, look, we pretty much confirmed that UFOs exist. Nobody really cares. Nobody really cares. He says, it doesn't matter what you put in front of people now, And I think politically, reality has turned all these other little topics, into basically nothing. They're not even afterthought anymore. The protests have turned into something massive now. They're not, nobody's calling City Hall saying, you can't put that up. You can't put that tree up. Maybe they are, but nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, it's not a, I looked really at the drone thing is interesting because you just wonder what they are and especially with the open border that we have. and the belief that there are terrorists here in the United States, and could they get a hold of a more of a commercial drone, and is that what's going on? Is it just people messing around? You had the conspiracy theorists. It was like they were looking for something for the long. With Alex Jones filing bankruptcy, where do we go? We need to. Oh, these have to be extraterrestrials. Actually, what they are is they're multidimensional vehicles that can go through time. They can go through water. Then they can go through space. I saw that one.
Right.
And I'm just like,
yeah.
God, get a life. Get
Well,
out of
because
the
witnesses
damn
are saying
basement.
as soon as you put eyes on them, they go dark. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know who's operating the drones, but drones aren't anything new.
No. And I look at, once it becomes a news story, how many people are sending up drones.
Exactly.
As soon as it becomes a
Copycats.
news story. Boom.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
everybody and their brother has go to YouTube. Everybody has a
Oh,
drone
yeah.
except me.
Well, in fact, the Malibu artist is one. He's a guy who's worked on a lot of documentaries. He's a photographer and professional drone pilot. And he goes off the beach of Malibu and he films these with a drone and films these great white sharks. He'll hover over them. And they've learned about behavior. Marine biologists have been on, and they're actually learning from his footage. It's very intriguing. It's been going on forever. I don't know, pretty much every YouTuber, if you're going to get any kind of B-roll footage, you're going to have a drone.
Well, it's like, but not really that much now. They still come up, but I was always fascinated, especially in COVID, and when the whole van life thing just blew up, and it was like, I thought about it. I wanted to get out into nature. I wanted to spend more time in nature, and they're producing these slick packages on YouTube, and I'm like, what are they talking about? They're flying their drone 10 hours a day and editing on their computer inside of a van in the wilderness.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
they're working 14 hours a day.
right, they're working for it's like, and then so many of them that quit went, well, you don't realize it, but when you have a van,
yeah,
and that has a million different electronic and moving parts to it, it breaks down consistently. You're always trying to get something repaired. It's like,
well,
that's life. And life, no matter where you go or how you think you're going to get away from it, you can't.
You can't. There's always work to be done. I saw this one, and he's based in Alaska, right? And he's doing these kind of, survival. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out, into the Alaskan wilderness, and I'm going to camp for 2 nights and then come back. Heavy snow. And on this one trip, the sled with all of his gear, he just couldn't keep it upright, on his way back home, back to the car where he was parked on the side of the road. And he says, it's the gear was falling over. He had to repack it every time. He looked into the camera. Keep in mind, he recorded this and kept this part in. He goes, you know what, guys? I've been putting for years these videos out for once a week, every week. I think I'm going to go to once every 2 or 3, just right there. Had the breakdown right there. I'm just going to put it out whenever I can, because there's a lot of work that goes into this, and which is true. It's a full-time gig.
But having fun with these people in van life, some of the way they edit and do a lot of the stuff is really intriguing. And the beautiful thing about having a drone and high definition today and all the editing software that they have on their laptop, they can create as professional of a product as you see anywhere on network TV.
Well,
and it's really, really amazing. And they do give, you sit there and go, oh, wow, they're out in, boy, they're enjoying nature so much. And they're, oh, wait a minute. They're editing 10 hours a day and flying that drone all the time and trying to get new footage all the time. And they want more footage and more footage because they're trying to build the number of people that are watching YouTube, because that's how they earn their living for being out in the van.
Yep.
And then they finally say, well, something that's not exactly like we're always on in nature. We're trying to make money doing this, and therefore we're spending a heck of a lot of time inside the van. And, there's a downside to well, of course there's a downside. There's an upside and a downside to everything. There is no pure nirvana.
No, there's a couple in Alaska, Simple Living Alaska on YouTube. And basically they film everything on their homestead that they have to do to prepare for winter. It's stuff they're doing to survive. Their garden during the warm months, their chickens that they raise, what they cook, they go hunting. So they're basically just filming their life, right? Which is different. It's like, all right, that makes sense. Bring the camera with you, right? You're going to do it anyway. And they've got some, pretty good views. The numbers are pretty high. And it's like once a week. I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
The one I've been watching is people that are building their homes off grid.
Yeah.
And
right.
It's like, oh, okay, pretty cool.
Right.
And here's our compost toilet. That's your permanent toilet that you use?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm out.
I saw one of those go south, actually, because the husband had to go in, and there was an issue with it. And they were like, we don't know if we can keep doing this.
Yeah, the compost
with this toilet. Yeah.
I can see if you have it in a van or something like that. I mean, we're not in all the time.
Off-site somewhere a little bit, or maybe,
Right. But that's what you have permanently?
Yeah. No.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Active weather out west.
On through the next couple of days, there is a high pressure system currently parked over the northwest. That has led to some air stagnation in some of the interior western valleys. Also some freezing fog in areas where temperatures are below the freezing mark.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says, in addition, Southern California wildfire threats could increase this week, due in part to Santa Ana winds.
We have already seen wind gusts on Tuesday gusting as high as 60 to 75 miles per hour. That is being accompanied by humidity levels that are below 20% and locally below 10%, along with available fuels in some of those mountains and passes. It does not take much to create a significant wildfire.
Meanwhile, the first of a series of Pacific storm systems is scheduled to arrive Thursday, halting the Southern California wildfire threat, while bringing heavy precipitation to Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Coming up, Capitol Police arrest a suspect who allegedly assaulted Representative Nancy Mace. Yes, it is a man who attacked her, all because of the radical transgender movement,
right?
And the whole bathroom thing at Capitol, at the Capitol. So we'll get to that story coming up, and then I thought this was fascinating. I'm going to read this here because it's something that you and I talked about. It was the thought that I had when Penny was found not guilty the other day.
Right.
And I went, Black Lives Matter. I'm like, stop it. This isn't going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, they're not going to do this. That's over. Right. And nothing really happened. But Christopher Rufo, who was one of the main people who went against critical race theory and really tore it apart. I can't think of the publication he works for. I just got out of my mind. Oh, not the Manhattan Institute. I can't think of it. But he wrote this. Now is the time for a blitz through the institutions. This is his advice to the Trump administration. Go at it. The left is exhausted. BLM is shattered. Trans is imploding. Trump has a mandate to abolish DEI, to fund left-wing radicalism, restore public authority over public institutions.
Yeah.
The counter-revolution starts now.
Wow.
We'll get to that coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Well, Representative Nancy Mace said she was physically accosted on Capitol grounds in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday night, and the suspect has been arrested. U.S. Capitol Police said that just before 6 p.m., the office of a member of Congress, later identified as Mace, reported an incident at the Rayburn House office building. House Division officers and agents with the threat assessment section of the police department tracked down the suspect, identified as 33-year-old James McIntyre of Illinois. She said, quote, police interviewed McIntyre, who ultimately placed him under arrest for assaulting a government official. I was physically assaulted tonight on Capitol grounds over my fight to protect women. Capitol Police have arrested him, Mace said in a post on X. All the violence and threats keep proving our point. Women deserve to be safe. Your threats will not stop my fight for women. Mace has been vocal about her opposition to men using women's bathrooms. So there you go. I mean,
Wow.
the activists aren't going to give up here. But I thought this was. I read this to Eric just before the bottom of the hour. Where to go here? I just had it here. And I just thought it was really interesting, and it was written by Christopher Rufo, and he was talking about the fact that the left is exhausted. The left just, the whole thing, everything that's going on right now. Now I can't. I'm trying to scan down to find it again, and I can't find it. But it was excellent talking about the fact that the counter-revolution has begun, and the counter-revolution is basically Trump coming in, and the movement that put Trump in office.
Yeah,
that is what's changed. That people have rejected the radicalism of the transgender movement, identity politics, which is, as we've talked about before, identity politics is judging people by a group that they're in and not as individuals. And as we've stated before, that's racism. That's where it all comes from. And the Democrats have been so blunt against it that it's not surprising that people finally caught on and go, wait a minute, this is 2024. Why are we letting Neanderthal people in the Democratic Party promote bluntly their absolute racism and misogyny of the radical transgender movement?
right. Well,
so the question is, the activists, I believe, are still going to be there, but as we saw yesterday, for Daniel Penny, when you had members of Bring Lots More Money, because it's not about Black Lives Matter, as we found out. It always was a money game. It was about enriching themselves. And, you had them out there throwing out radical comments, and there, a few hundred people protested for a while. A few got arrested. It didn't happen. Nothing happened across the nation. No. And so the question is, are people just tired of it now?
Well,
like, okay.
I think the barometer really is post-election, what we have seen or not seen. You and I wondered, okay, is it going to be like the summer a few years ago where it's a lot of leftists that are mostly peaceful protests, the riots? If Trump wins, this pre-election, we don't know because it was so hard to predict. There was so much going on with radicals. And here we are. There's really not a lot of noise. You're at the point of, not that the radicals are conceding to Trump, they're still making noise, but nobody is listening. They had defenders, again, the activist media back then during the riots. These are mostly peaceful protesters. There's nothing going on. It's isolated to just a small part of town or whatever. Well, now the radicals are still screaming. They're not. We don't see those kind of protests and riots going on. But it's not being heard. It's not going anywhere.
Well, the radicals may be talking about it, but the public's not paying attention. Here's
Exactly.
what Christopher Rufo wrote. I'll read it again. And Manhattan City Journal. That's what I was thinking of. That's,
Okay.
Now is the time for a blitz through the institutions. The left is exhausted. BLM is shattered. Trans is imploding. Trump has a mandate to abolish DEI and defund left-wing racialism and restore public authority over the public institutions. The counter-revolution starts now. And I was thinking about the Daniel Penny acquittal and the way we had played Joy Reid earlier, where she was just outright lying. And that's one of the things when you think about it. MSNBC, it was not conservatives and independents weren't watching it. It was liberals. The reason they've lost a ton of people, one of the analysis of MSNBC is they've lied so long. They were telling people that these things were going to happen. It never happened.
Right.
And finally, they burned themselves with their own audience.
Right. Yeah.
And they keep throwing out the same stuff over and over again, which is not believable. And if you know anything about the Daniel Penny case, you know that a black man was right there helping to subdue the perpetrator in that particular case. And I want to play this here because this is the full blow up, as they call it, that happened 2 nights ago on CNN with Scott Jennings. Mm-hmm. And watch at the end as a Democrat gets involved and said, "This isn't racial here. Why are you making it racial? It's not." Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, let me just help you understand. If you're on the American left tonight, here's my chart. The good guys today, Daniel Penny. The bad guys, Luigi Mangione. It seems to me.
How do you?
Everybody
what's
on the
the
left,
chart for victims?
I'm just telling you what I see out in the world.
I know.
Today.
I just want you to finish the chart. Which
what's
victim
my chart?
is good
You
and
can make
which
your own
victim
chart.
is bad.
What I'm telling you is
that's not on the second page.
People on the left. People on the left can't
Scott,
seem to tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys.
People on the left. I'm asking you whether you consider this person.
We had people praising
I want
Luigi
to know
and
whether
attacking
you
Penny.
think that, as Congressman Crane does, that Daniel Penny should get the Congressional Gold Medal to recognize his heroism. I'm not asking you about anyone else.
I think he ought to get medal. I think they ought to build a statue to this guy in New York City.
I think that race, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the dreaded R word. Race plays a role in this, right? And so we see it. Yes, absolutely, because statistics say that.
Wasn't there a similar case in New York City at the same time this one was going on?
That when people kill people who are white, they tend to get harsher sentences, especially if they're people of color.
What about the Jordan Williams case?
That is what happens in our criminal justice system.
First of all,
no, I'm not going to stop because race absolutely plays a role in this.
I said, what about the Jordan Williams case here in New York? Same situation, African-American, gets on a subway, ends up killing a guy, grand jury tosses it out at the exact same time as the Penny case.
What about Bernard Goetz?
That's different because he used the same weapon that the alleged victim had. So he was using his own weapon. He was met with deadly physical force. Jordan Neely, all he had in his pocket was a muffin.
All right, listen, guys. First of all, this is not a left-right issue. I'm on the left, and I actually think this was the right decision. Because the reason I think this is the right decision is because that's what the jury decided. And juries tend to get this stuff right. And that's what we have to believe in. There were multiple witnesses that were people of color. There were multiple people on the jury that were people of color. I think it's not really okay to call this a race issue.
There you go.
Well, again, if you're paying attention on the basic level to this case and all of the elements in it, sorry, it was the right decision.
Well, this is why in all these cases we have said throughout the years, there's only one way to look at it. You judge each and every incident that happens by the evidence that exists in that one. And I don't know who the one guy was on the left in the panel on CNN that was saying, statistics and averages show. That means nothing.
Nope.
Because you're judging this one case and you're saying this one case is racial because some other case years ago might have been racial. Well, that's what gets you to you judge every case by the facts and evidence that exist in that particular case. And in no way can you look at the Daniel Penny self-defense behavior that he was involved with and call it any type of racial killing. Who made it racial? It was Bragg.
Yeah.
Continually calling him the white man, the white man. It was a white man. He's the white man. He's the white man in the trial.
Right.
He's the one that brought it up.
Right.
You had witnesses that testified that were black.
Right.
That said we were scared for our lives. He saved us. And these race baiters, they want chaos. They want people to hate each other. That's what they want. And we've talked about this on the left for the longest time. They want division. When Joe Biden said that the Georgia election law was Jim Crow on steroids, he did it for one reason and one reason only. He lied about the law in Georgia in order to hope that people would hate each other based on his lie and based on skin color. That's how reprehensible the left is, and it goes all the way up to the top, right to Joe Biden.
I can argue that Joe Biden campaigned on that one issue harder than he did for re-election, leading up to the point that he was out of the re-election cycle.
I think you did, yeah. Yeah,
it was. It became a thing to the point that Major League Baseball decided, okay, we're moving the All-Star game. It was he was on it over and over again and stayed on it. And it's all to do what? Separate people.
Right. Make people hate each other. That's what they wish to do because they believe if they can have chaos and people hate each other, that's how they unite their victims.
Yep.
Because we've got an oppressor, we've got a new oppressor, we've got new victims, and that's all they give a damn about. And it's evil, it's wrong, it's immoral, whatever else I could say, it fits all of those classifications.
Yep.
But you cannot look at that. You cannot look at that Daniel Penny case and say that racism was a factor in it at all. You know what was a factor? People felt threatened for their lives. That was it. And different people of different color were in fear of their lives. And Daniel Penny stepped up. All the evidence shows it. He stepped up and said, I got to do something. And when he spoke yesterday and said, I have no regrets and I would do it again because it's my responsibility to ensure that people feel safe.
Yeah. Right.
And it's as he said, he goes, I take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt or killed. That's what Daniel Penny said yesterday.
Right.
And these filthy racists out there that wish to sow division between Americans, and that's what they are, and it's filthy and it's evil. Larry Elder said this. Let me get this straight, he wrote. Larry Elder did. Daniel Penny, a white man, subdued Jordan Neely, a black man, with the help of another good Samaritan, another black man. Neely posed a threat to passengers on the subway, some of whom were black. The DA who charged Penny is black. The mayor of New York who praised Penny's heroism is black. The jury that found Penny not guilty included 4 people of color, but Penny's acquittal, according to the head of the New York chapter of Black Lives Matter, means white supremacy got another victory? Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't pass the stink test.
Exactly.
And the stink is all coming from the damn racists that still exist in our society, the hate mongers out there that wish to separate us, because that's how they believe they will get their power.
And they have to lie repeatedly.
Yep. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Hey, Tonight Radio, he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So another day.
Yeah,
I just reading
crazy town.
Reading this here, just saw this in Fox News. Don't have the details on it, but it says the suspect in the killing of Brian Thompson may have been triggered by his age and an Obamacare provision. He was 26 years of age.
Oh, that hit me the other day. I actually said it to my wife. I said, I wonder if he aged out.
That's the year you get kicked off your family's insurance claim.
It is.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.